Hello students, this is our third lecture on gamma functions. Okay, so what we are going to do in this lecture, we are going to study the types of questions which can come in university exams related to gamma function. Okay, so now before just doing that, let me just briefly recap what was our gamma function. Our gamma function was gamma of n is equal to 0 to infinity e raised to the power minus x to the power n minus 1 dx. Okay, so now what are the type of questions which can come in university exams? Okay, so in this case you can say that the first type one of questions which can come is something like that, like if it is written from 0 to infinity e raised to the power minus a into x raised to the power n and then dx. Okay, so if this type of question comes, you can easily write the method of substitution which you are going to use is a into x raised to the power n is equal to t. Okay, so this is what you are going to use. Now in the second type 2, in the type 2 type of questions, you can say the questions may come of this type: from 0 to infinity e raised to the power minus a x raised to the power n into x raised to the power m dx. Okay, so even if this type of questions also comes, in both the type of questions, the similarity which is there is the method of substitution. The method of substitution which you are going to use here also, it will be the same, that is a into x raised to the power n will be equal to t. Okay, now the type 3 type of questions, it will be like, let's say over here I have written type 3. Okay, so now in this type of question the limit has changed from 0 to 1. Okay, and x raised to the power m into log of x raised to the power n dx. So when you are going to study the beta functions in the next lecture, you will see that in case of beta functions, the limit of integration was 0 to 1, and here also the limit of integration is 0 to 1. So you may get confused whether to apply beta function or gamma function, but please remember, in this case of questions, the log x is there. So in this case, when you are going to substitute with log of x is equal to minus t, so the limit will again change from 0 to infinity. So it again becomes the question category of gamma functions. Okay, and the fourth type of questions will be from 0 to infinity x raised to the power a upon a raised to the power x dx. So here also the method of substitution will be a raised to the power x is equal to e raised to the power t. So this will be a special method of substitution. Okay, so these are two different special cases. Log of x is there and the limit of integration has changed. So you just have to remember the type 3 questions. Here also the gamma functions will be applicable, and type 4 questions, in this case a raised to this denominator part, a raised to the power x was taken as e raised to the power t, because here e raised to the power something is missing. Whereas in case of type 1 and type 2, you can see in both the cases e raised to the power something was there, and whatever is in the power, you have taken that as t. Okay, so let's start with the type 1 question first. Okay, so the question which was given in the university exam was evaluate I is equal to, let's say from 0 to infinity e raised to the power minus x raised to the power 4. Okay, so you can easily say this is the type 1 type of questions. Okay, and here in this case e raised to the power this is related to this. Okay, so now how to solve this type of questions? I have already told you the method of substitution was in type 1 type of questions was a x raised to the power n was taken as t. Okay, so here in this case the x raised to the power 4 will be taken as t. Okay, so now if we take this as t, okay, so what was x? So you can write x is equal to t raised to the power 1 by 4. Now what further need to be done? You need to find out dx. Okay, so what is dx? Dx is equal to 1 by 4 t to the power minus 3 by 4 dt. Why is it so? Because according to the rule of differentiation, if we differentiate x raised to the power n, okay, if we differentiate x raised to the power n, then it will be equal to n into x raised to the power n minus 1. Isn't that so? So according to this rule of differentiation, we have done this 1 by 4 t to the power 1 minus 1 by 4. And what is 1 minus 1 by 4? It is equal to minus 3 by 4. So it is, we have written here minus 3 by 4 over here. Okay. So now after finding this, we need to check whether the limits has changed or not. If we put x equal to 0, the t will also be equal to 0. And if we put x is equal to infinity, we can check the t is also is equal to infinity. So we can confirm that limits has not at all changed. So now, after this, what needs to be done? We need to just rewrite it in the form of t. Okay. So now if we rewrite this in the form of t, you can write it from 0 to infinity. It is e raised to the power minus t. And so into t raised to the power minus t by 4 dt. And this 1 by 4 will also come. We can take it outside the integration because it is something which is constant. Okay. So this is a replacement for dx. This is the replacement for dx. And since x raised to the power 4 was t, so therefore we have written e raised to the power minus t over here. Now we need to relate this with the basic formula of gamma n. So according to the basic formula of gamma n was equal to integration from 0 to infinity. Here also you are having integration from 0 to infinity. Okay, and e raised to the power x, here it is e raised to the power minus t, and x raised to the power n minus 1, here t raised to the power minus 3 by 4. That means here the t is the dummy variable. It is the dummy variable for x. Okay, so x and t are just equal. Okay, you can just replace x by again t. So what the similarity you can see, e raised to the power minus x or e raised to the power minus t are same in both the equations. So what is different? X to the power n minus 1 over here, and this is minus 3 by 4. So again what we need to do, we just need to write n minus 1 is equal to minus 3 by 4, and therefore you will get n equal to 1 minus 3 by 4. So you have got 1 by 4. Thus finally the integration, what you can rewrite it as, this is equal to 1 by 4 and gamma function of 1 by 4. Why gamma function of 1 by 4? Because this is the basic formula for gamma function of n, or gamma, and n came out to be 1 by 4. So it is basic formula for gamma function of 1 by 4. Fine. And how this 1 by 4 came? This 1 by 4 basically came because this was the constant which you were using outside this integration over here. So this is 1 by 4 which is the constant, and this whole turned out to be gamma function of 1 by 4. Okay, according to the formula. So now let's deal with the next question. The next question is from, if we take the integration from 0 to infinity e raised to the power minus x square by 4 dx. Now again the same substitution method we are going to use, x square by 4. Please remember, we never take the negative sign over here. It is equal to t. So obviously what is x? X is equal to 4t and under root of 4t, and therefore you can say it is nothing but 2 and t raised to the power half, and therefore what is your dx? So dx, it will be equal to 2 and 1 by 2 root t. So this 2 will cancel out, and therefore it will be equal to t raised to the power minus half. Okay. Now after this, if we substitute it in the integration, you can write it this way. As integration, it will be equal to from 0 to infinity. You can check the same limits of integration are still there. So it will be e raised to the power minus t and t raised to the power minus half dt. So again this you can relate with the basic formula of gamma function. What was the basic formula of gamma function? That is from 0 to infinity e raised to the power minus x and x raised to the power n minus 1 dx. So here the dummy variable is just t. So t and x is the dummy variable for t. So what is the difference between these two equations? You can just say minus half is there and n minus 1. So just n minus 1 is equal to minus half, and therefore n is equal to 1 minus half, that is equal to half. So you can write that this integration is nothing but equal to gamma function of half. Okay, so what is gamma function of half, which we have already discussed in the previous lecture? It is nothing but under root of pi. Okay, now based on similar basis, you can easily find out few questions and do it yourself. You can easily say that from 0 to infinity, if I take e raised to the power minus x square dx, if this is the question, then what you can do, it came out to be just half and gamma function of half. Okay, and you know gamma function of half is root pi, so under root pi by 2 you can write. And similarly, if you do from 0 to infinity e raised to the power minus x cube dx, so this will be equal to 1 by 3 gamma function of 1 by 3. And if I write something like this, from 0 to infinity e raised to the power minus x raised to the power 5 dx, so you can write it as 1 by 5 gamma function of 1 by 5. So this is just the type 1 type of questions. In the next lecture, we are going to proceed with the type 2 type of questions. Thank you so much. Kindly like and subscribe the channel. Thank you.